Always play in passant when given the chance. In passant is not just a chess move, it's a way of life. In this game, Bobby faced with an important decision. Should he checkmate his opponent or play in passant? Being an absolute genius, Bobby decided to play the in passant, and just like that, he sacrificed the king. All jokes aside, this is a complete list of chess tips and tricks ranked based on how universally important, practical, and Elo-boosting each chess principle is, from good to better and then to best. There is also the best of the best if you watch till the end. Avoid double pawns. Double pawns occur when two pawns from the same file stack on top of each other, usually after a capture. This structure is often weak because doubled pawns cannot protect each other, are harder to advance, and create long-term targets for your opponent. Avoiding doubled pawns helps maintain a healthier pawn structure, smoother piece development, and stronger control of key squares across the board. Backward pawns. A backward pawn is a pawn stuck behind its neighboring pawns and unable to move forward safely. It becomes a long-term weakness because it cannot be defended by another pawn and often sits on an open or semi-open file, making it an easy target for enemy rooks and pieces. Avoid creating backward pawns, and when your opponent has one, try to pressure it and turn it into a strategic advantage. Avoid isolated pawns. An isolated pawn is a pawn with no friendly pawns on the files next to it. Because it cannot receive pawn support, your opponent can easily attack it using pieces. Isolated pawns also create weak squares around them, especially in the center. While sometimes they offer dynamic activity, beginners and intermediate players should generally avoid them. Keeping your pawns connected makes your position more solid and reduces long-term weaknesses. No queen too early. Bringing your queen out too early invites attacks from developing enemy pieces, forcing you to waste time moving the queen repeatedly. Basically, it's like giving her a cardio workout she never asked for. Early queen activity also disrupts your normal development and hands the initiative to your opponent. Instead, develop minor pieces first, castle, and create a safe structure before activating the queen. A well-timed queen move in the middle game is far stronger than early aggression that backfires. Don't trade bishops for knights. While knights and bishops are both minor pieces, bishops are generally more valuable in open or semi-open positions because they control long diagonals and influence large parts of the board. Trading your bishop for a knight without a clear advantage often weakens your position, especially in the long term. Only exchange bishop for knight when it leads to a concrete gain, such as ruining your opponent's pawn structure or winning material. Knights before bishops. Developing knights before bishops is a classic opening principle because knights have more predictable and limited development squares. Bishops, on the other hand, have multiple potential diagonals, and it's usually better to place them after you understand the pawn structure. Playing knights first leads to faster development, better king safety, and more flexible plans. This simple habit helps you build a solid opening foundation without committing your bishops too early. Bishops opened, knights closed. Bishops thrive in open positions where pawn chains are minimal and long diagonals are unobstructed. Their strength increases as lines open, allowing them to influence the whole board. Knights, on the other hand, excel in closed positions where locked centers and fixed pawn structures give them stable outposts and short-range tactical opportunities. Understanding whether a position is open or closed helps you activate the right piece at the right time. Avoid moving pawns in front of castled king. Once you castle, the pawns in front of your king act as a protective shield. Moving them creates weaknesses, open lines, and shiny attack here. Arrows for enemy pieces. A single unnecessary pawn push can expose your king so badly he'll start questioning your life choices. Unless you have a strong strategic reason, keep your king's pawn cover intact. Maintaining this structure improves king's safety, prevents tactics, and makes your defensive position far more reliable. Rooks go behind passed pawns. When you have a passed pawn, your rook works best from behind it, supporting its advance and controlling the file. A rook behind the pawn has more mobility and remains useful even if the pawn moves. Behind the pawn placement also makes it harder for the opponent to block or attack the pawn effectively. This simple rule greatly increases the chances of successfully promoting passed pawns in both middle games and end games. Two minor pieces are better than a rook and pawn. In most practical positions, two minor pieces, such as a bishop and a knight, are stronger than a rook and a pawn. Minor pieces coordinate well, cover more squares together, and create tactical threats that a single rook cannot match. They also dominate in complex middle game positions where mobility and flexibility matter. Unless you have a clear reason, avoid exchanges that give up two minors for a rook and pawn, as it often reduces your long-term potential. Three minor pieces are better than a queen. Although the queen is the most powerful single piece, Three minor pieces working together often outclass her. Their combined control, coordination, and ability to attack multiple weaknesses simultaneously outweigh the queen's lone mobility. Three minors can dominate entire sectors of the board, limit the queen's freedom, and create unstoppable threats. This imbalance highlights the importance of teamwork in chess and why raw power doesn't always beat strategic harmony. Opposite-colored bishops drawish in the endgame. In endgames with opposite-colored bishops, each bishop controls squares the other bishop can't touch. This creates natural defensive barriers and makes it very hard for either side to break through. Even when one side is a pawn or two ahead, the defender can often set up an impenetrable fortress. Because of this, many objectively winning positions become drawn simply due to the limited interaction between the opposing bishops. Opposite-colored bishops dangerous in the middle game. Opposite-colored bishops during the middle game create extremely sharp and attacking positions. Since each bishop controls a different color complex, attackers can often target squares the defender simply cannot protect with their own bishop. This leads to powerful mating nets, unstoppable pressure, and long-range tactical ideas. Middle game positions with opposite-colored bishops often favor the attacking side dramatically, even when material is equal, due to the imbalance in board control. Look at this position. You can play queen to h6, and checkmate is unstoppable. But if black has the same color bishop as ours, the story would be far different. Knights are the best blockaders of pawns. Knights are excellent blockaders because their power doesn't depend on mobility behind them. A knight placed directly in front of an enemy pawn becomes a stable defender and attacker at the same time. Unlike bishops or rooks, the knight still controls important squares while sitting on a blockade square. This makes it perfect for stopping passed pawns, restricting enemy plans, and creating long-term positional pressure that feels like the knight saying, "Nope, not today, and not tomorrow either." That's so annoying your opponent starts questioning why they even play chess. If the position is cramped, trade pieces. When your pieces have limited space, they often step on each other's squares and struggle to maneuver. In cramped positions, trading pieces, especially minor ones, instantly gives your position more breathing room. With fewer pieces on the board, your remaining forces gain mobility and flexibility. This prevents tactical problems caused by overcrowding and helps you stabilize your position. Simplifying is a key defensive technique when you're short on space. When ahead, trade pieces but not pawns. If you're ahead in material, exchanging pieces simplifies the game and reduces your opponent's chances for counterplay. Every trade brings you closer to an easily winning endgame. However, avoid trading pawns because pawns are your winning assets. More pawns mean more chances to create passed pawns and promote. Trading pieces while keeping pawns increases your advantage and makes converting the win much simpler and more reliable. When down, trade pawns, but not pieces. If you're behind in material, keeping pieces on the board increases complexity and gives you more opportunities to create tactics, traps, or counterplay. Trading pawns reduces your opponent's winning potential by weakening their ability to create passed pawns. Avoid exchanging pieces because doing so simplifies the position and makes your disadvantage more obvious and harder to recover from. Staying complicated gives you the best chance to save, or even turn, the game. Capture toward the center with pawns. When capturing with pawns, taking toward the center strengthens your grip on key squares. Center pawns control more of the board. They're basically the VIP bouncers of chess, controlling who gets in and who gets thrown out. Capturing inward also keeps your pawn structure healthier, preventing weird flank weaknesses that look like you tried modern art on your pawn formation. This simple principle gives you more space, smoother development, and better coordination, like tidying your room and suddenly becoming 30% more productive for no reason. Attack the base of the pawn chain. A pawn chain is strongest at its base, the pawns supporting the rest from behind. Instead of attacking the advanced pawns, target the root. When the base collapses, the entire chain falls apart, leaving your opponent with weak, isolated pawns. This approach is more efficient and creates long-term weaknesses you can exploit. Understanding pawn chain dynamics helps you break strong positions and open lines for your pieces. Deal with a flank attack by striking in the center. When your opponent launches a flank attack, the best counter is often a strong break in the center. A successful central push threatens their king's safety, disrupts coordination, and forces them to respond. Flank attacks typically take time, while central breakthroughs are faster and more forcing. By opening the middle of the board, you seize the initiative, activate your pieces, and shift the battle to an area where you have better control. Rooks go behind passed pawns. A rook placed behind a passed pawn, whether it's yours or your opponent's, is usually most effective. Behind your pawn, the rook supports its advance and controls important squares. behind an enemy pawn, the rook stops it from moving forward while pressuring it from behind. This positioning maximizes the rook's long-range power and makes passed pawn play far more efficient, especially in endgames where precision matters most. Rooks are strong on the 7th or 2nd rank. A rook on the 7th or 2nd rank is extremely dangerous because it can attack multiple unprotected enemy pawns and restrict the opponent's king. These ranks often contain the opponent's starting pawn line, giving the rook many targets. From this position, the rook becomes an active attacker that dominates the board. A rook on the 7th rank can single-handedly create winning chances, especially when paired with another rook. Doubled rooks on open files are powerful. Stacking 2 rooks on the same open file dramatically increases their force. They control the entire file, threaten entry points on the opponent's side, and create overwhelming pressure. Doubled rooks coordinate exceptionally well, often forcing weaknesses, winning material, or breaking through the enemy position. This setup is one of the strongest rook formations in chess and often decides games once the file opens and your rooks march in like they own the place, because at that point, they kind of do. 2 connected pawns on the 6th rank beat a rook. 2 connected passed pawns advanced to the 6th rank are incredibly powerful, so strong that they usually overpower a rook. Because they support each other and are close to promotion, the defending rook struggles to stop both pawns at once. The opponent must sacrifice material or allow a promotion. This illustrates how dangerous advanced pawns can be and why securing passed pawns early can determine the entire endgame. For example, in this position, white's pawns are going forward in this direction. Black's rook might try to stop them, but they can easily outpower it. Black now has no choice except to take the pawn and hope for the best. Endgame king is valuable. In the endgames, the king transforms from a vulnerable piece into an active fighter. With fewer pieces on the board, the king is safe enough to move toward the center, attack pawns, and support your own passed pawns. An active king often determines the outcome, turning equal positions into winning ones. Treat your king as a powerful piece in the endgame, not something to hide behind pawns. Connect rooks. Connecting your rooks, removing all pieces between them on the back rank, greatly increases their power and coordination. Once connected, rooks defend each other, control open files more effectively, and can quickly shift across the board. This usually signals that your development is complete and your position is healthy. Connected rooks are essential for launching attacks, supporting pawn breaks, and defending against tactical threats. Don't move the same piece twice in the opening. In the opening, every move counts. Moving the same piece twice wastes time and basically tells your opponent, "Go ahead, take the center. I'm just doing laps with my knight." Meanwhile, they're developing smoothly while your piece is out here training for the chess Olympics. Your goal is to bring out all your pieces efficiently so they work together, like a coordinated team, not like 5 employees waiting for one guy who keeps circling back. Unless there's a real tactical reason, avoid repeating moves early on. Prioritizing development over unnecessary wandering leads to smoother positions, better middle game chances, and fewer moments where you stare at the board thinking, "Why is my bishop still at home, doing nothing?" Develop quickly, kind of similar to the previous point. Rapid development is one of the most important opening principles. Bringing out your knights and bishops early prepares you for castling, controlling key squares, and responding to threats. The faster your pieces take active positions, the harder it is for your opponent to create pressure. Quick development builds momentum that can carry into the middle game, giving you initiative, safer king placement, and better coordination. Knights on the rim are grim. A knight placed on the edge of the board controls fewer squares and becomes far less effective. The center offers maximum mobility and influence, while the rim limits your knight's tactical options. Knights stuck on the edge often become targets or fall out of the game entirely. Whenever possible, steer your knights towards central squares where they can dominate the board and participate in key plans. Don't play hope chess. Hope chess means making a move and hoping your opponent doesn't see the threat. It's an unreliable and risky way to play. Instead, assume your opponent will find the best move and make decisions accordingly. Always check what your opponent can do in response. By avoiding hope-based play and focusing on solid, calculated decisions, you reduce blunders, strengthen your strategy, and improve consistency. Know the right time to ignore principles. Chess principles guide good play, but they are not absolute laws. Strong players know when a position requires breaking a rule, such as moving a piece twice early or delaying castling, to achieve a concrete advantage. Understanding exceptions comes from experience and recognizing specific tactical or strategic needs. Knowing when to ignore principles elevates your play and turns general rules into flexible, powerful tools rather than rigid restrictions. Castle before move 10. Castling early, usually before move 10, greatly improves your king's safety and completes a key step in development. Early castling protects your king from central attacks, places a rook toward the center, and helps your pieces coordinate more effectively. Delaying castling often leads to unnecessary risks, especially if the center opens or your opponent launches an early attack. Early castling is a simple habit that prevents many disasters. Rooks on open files. Rooks become strongest when placed on open or semi-open files, where no pawns block their movement. On these files, rooks can penetrate into the opponent's position, create pressure, and support attacks or defenses efficiently. Controlling open files often leads to long-term positional advantages, allowing your rooks to become active instead of passive. Prioritizing open file control is a key strategy in improving your middle game strength. Don't open the center if your king is still there. Keeping your king in the center while the center opens can be extremely dangerous. Open lines let enemy pieces deliver checks, attacks, and tactical threats straight at your king, who did not sign up for surprise visitors. Until you castle, maintaining a closed or stable center limits your opponent's attacking opportunities. Only open the center when your king is safe or when you gain a clear tactical advantage. Otherwise, you risk losing quickly to unexpected pressure. Control the center. Controlling the center, especially the squares e4, d4, e5, and d5, is one of the most important principles in chess. Pieces placed toward the center have more mobility, influence, and tactical potential. Strong central control restricts your opponent's movement, supports attacks on either side, and allows faster piece coordination. Whether through pawns or pieces, dominating the center gives you long-term advantages that shape both the opening and middle game. And finally, to the best of best tip, learn in-game basics. Literally, learning in-game basics gives you free yellow because small knowledge boosts win rates fast. Knowing key positions like king and pawn endings, opposition, and basic checkmates turns many draws into wins. Most players ignore endgames, so mastering simple ones gives you a huge edge without studying complex openings or tactics. For example, in this position, if you don't know how to deliver checkmate with a rook against a lone king, it will force you to lose 8 yellow points. Another example, if you don't know how to turn this pawn into a queen, this will also force you to lose points. Every time a person subscribes and comments, I will do one push-up and respond with a heart to the comment.